On its knees.
I'm trying to save you from yourself.
The press is on the prowl.
You think Peter and I had an open marriage? That's impossible.
I could kiss you.
Well, that would give them something to write about.
Don't miss broadcast's best hour.
Feels pretty good, doesn't it?
Winning?
No, nothing to lose.
Thursday, The Good Wife at 10:35 on Pearl.
旗先一着就可以把握更好嘅商機。
拓展海外市場要做得好，就要識得點去推廣業務。世界幾大都好，我哋都一樣去得到。
政府嘅中小企業市場推廣基金協助我哋參與展覽會同考察團，
多啲走出去就可以拓展多啲有潛力嘅市場啦。
你都可以邁向全世界㗎。
旗先一着，把握推廣良機。
Enjoy the farmer's daughter's quirky laid-back hospitality in LA. An old church serves up a different kind of communion in Amsterdam. And hang out with ninjas in New York. Wednesday, unique hotels and restaurants at 8:30 on Pearl.
Good evening. Chinese stocks plunged today, snapping a month-long boom. Other global markets were lower on concerns of feeble Chinese trade and Japan's recession. Chinese investors had been driven by hopes for an economic rebound, combined with cheerleading by the state press. But prices fell today after China's Clearinghouse for Securities Trades raised the minimum rating for corporate bonds it would accept in exchange for short-term credit. That prompted concerns about the availability of financing for trades. To the charts now. The Dow Jones is down 187 points. The S&P 500 is down 21 points. U.S. 30-year Treasury bond is priced at $102.92. Spot gold $1,231 an ounce. U.S. dollar cross rates: the yen 118.51, the euro 1.24. And sterling is at 1.56. European markets, the UK FTSE is down 127 points, the French CAC is down 105 points, and the German DAX is down 208 points. Stay with us, the news is next.
You're watching TVB Pearl. Up shortly, we hand you over to our news department for a summary of the day's top stories in the News Roundup. Next on In Vino Veritas, what are the best wines to invest in? Find out Thursday night at 9:30. Celebrate Christmas with an elaborate French dinner. Immerse yourself in the festive Christmas spirit. Keep your skin glowing with some DIY beauty regimens. Plus, check out Japan's unique poster culture. Thursday night, Dolce Vita at 10 on Pearl.
咪俾睇唔見嘅甲醛破壞你嘅家庭幸福。立邦金裝抗甲醛正味全效，分解有害甲醛，轉化成水分子，仲超級抗菌。金主，捍衛家人健康，我的靈感，我的立邦。
分享歡聚喜悅 ，Häagen-Dazs 雪糕火鍋，頃刻令派對更添氣氛。Let's party！ 堂食及外賣同步上市。
公司啲出口訂單少咗好多啊！
咁我哋個飯碗
唔使擔心，喺政府支持下，香港按揭證券公司嘅中小企融資擔保計劃推出咗特別優惠措施。
咩措施啊？
計劃推出咗新嘅8成信貸擔保，擔保費仲大幅降低，政府會提供高達1000億元嘅信貸保證。
公司攞到貸款
咁我哋就唔使擔心飯碗啦。老闆。
詳情請瀏覽呢個網址。
I thought you were a nurse.
I'm a teacher.
When I first started teaching, I thought that I was doing it for all the right reasons. Shorter hours, summers off, no accountability. My full-time job is finding a guy who's going to take care of me.
Hey. I'm impressed. I'm crushing on someone. It's Amy.
Go running in the hall!
Friday, Ori to Watch Company presents Bad Teacher on Pearl's Friday Attractions.
Admiralty occupation zone to be cleared on Thursday. Indonesian maid accused of exaggerating attacks made on her by her boss. And a massive cleanup in the Philippines in the wake of Typhoon Hagupit. Good evening. It's day 73 of the Occupy protests. Bailiffs, with the help of police, plan to clear part of the Occupy protest site in Admiralty at 9 a.m. on Thursday, in accordance with a court injunction. Students say they won't interfere, but intend to stay in areas not included in the injunction. Bailiffs and the legal team of All China Express arrived at the Admiralty protest site at around 3 this afternoon. They posted copies of the injunction order there. The order is on prominent display in 7 areas, including a section of Connaught Road Central near City Hall, a section of Harcourt Road outside the PLA barracks, and a section of Cotton Tree Drive. The injunction order was also published in newspapers. This morning, the injunction applicant and its legal team held talks with bailiffs and the police. It was announced after the meeting that the clearance action will take place on Thursday at 9 a.m.
What I would like to do now is to perhaps make a public plea to the students to stay away from the scene where there's still plenty of time, and try to remove as many obstacles as you may, or personal effect that you have from the area, just to make sure that you don't have sort of lose those items or sort of cause unnecessary conflicts or confrontations.
He said around 20 to 30 agents will be enforcing the injunction order, and that they will be wearing vests with clear labels. Ze expects the operation to last about 2 hours. Some Occupy protesters were seen packing up their belongings today.
Any act of obstructing the execution of court order would amount to criminal contempt of court. Police will take resolute actions against anyone who obstructs or violently charges the bailiffs who are executing their duty. After assisting bailiffs with the execution of the injunction order on Thursday, we will remove other obstacles on the carriageways and pavements in Admiralty and Central.
Over at the Causeway Bay protest site, some demonstrators believe the area will too be cleared soon, even though no injunction order has been sought. But some say they are willing to leave on their own because they understand the inconvenience caused to nearby residents. The chief executive said this morning the government is determined to strive for the support of 2/3 of legislators needed for the passage of a political reform proposal. Pan-democratic lawmakers accused Leung Chun-ying of trying to create a divide in the pro-democracy camp. Diane To has more.
Speaking before the weekly Executive Council meeting, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying said the SAR and central governments are determined to implement universal suffrage in 2017. He warned the pan-democratic lawmakers that if they vote down the government's political reform proposal, they will cause Hong Kong voters to lose their right for one person, one vote in the next CE election. And this is a responsibility to their voters each pan-democratic lawmaker has to bear. His statements touched a raw nerve with the pro-democracy lawmakers.
What I worry is that this is a tactic by the chief executive and the government to try to divide and conquer our pan-democratic camp, to make it look like that certain members of us would be able to be switched by the government to pocket their proposal, which is totally untrue. Under the August 31st decisions, there cannot be any way that the reform package can achieve universal suffrage, which is a genuine universal suffrage standard.
The Democratic Party was among the pan-democrats, stressing that none of its votes will be swayed, a sore point for the party after it was chided as traitors for making a last-minute deal to support the government in 2010. The Labour Party's Sid Ho said even if the government can get the 4 votes needed from the pan-democratic camp to get the package passed, in the long run, when people realise the government is still not accountable, then even today's moderates will be spurred to take stronger action. Meanwhile, the Liberal Party's James Tien said he has relayed the student protesters' desire to meet with Leung Chun-ying after a meeting with the CE today.
But I try my best to lobby him that we need a more amicable society, that Hong Kong camp doesn't mean only the pro-establishment. I really like to see that the two sides get back together. And the best person to lead this is the chief executive himself.
But Tien admitted that he doesn't see the demand that the whole political reform process be restarted as a viable way of moving ahead. Diane To, TVB News.
The district court today continued to hear details about the alleged abuse of a former Indonesian domestic helper by her employer. The defense team suggested her claims were either untrue or exaggerations. Pictures of Ariana Sulistianingshi's injuries shortly after she left Hong Kong earlier this year caused outrage around the world. But today, the defense team for Ariana's former employer, Lo Wan Tung, cast doubts over her version of events. Defense counsel Graham Harris focused on Ariana's inability to be precise regarding the time during which the alleged instances of assault happened. Harris, at one point, told the former domestic helper that either she was being deliberately vague about the time or her complaints were completely untrue or gross exaggerations. The lawyer attempted to dismiss injuries to Ariana's skin and teeth as being caused not by assault, but by neglect and medical conditions causing skin irritation and tooth decay. The defense counsel pointed out that no civilized employer would treat a domestic helper in that way, and that it should have occurred to Ariana to jot down these serious events on a piece of paper. Moreover, Harris showed documents signed by the domestic helper indicating she had agreed with the employer to work during rest days in order to earn extra pay. Incensed by the line of questioning, Ariana replied that she couldn't remember the exact time of the alleged assault incidents because she couldn't leave the house. She insisted that injuries shown in photographs presented in court were the result of continuous attacks. She also said she agreed to sign the documents because her employer had threatened to kill her parents. She also said that throughout the whole time she worked at the Chung Kwan O flat, she was never actually paid. Ariana added that she didn't write it down because she was under constant video surveillance. Earlier in the day, Ariana described how she wasn't provided with a bed by her employer and how she had to sleep on the floor of a small storage room. But later, the court heard that she was provided with a pillow and blankets and that she slept on a carpet because there was no room for a bed. The trial continues tomorrow. The body of a 15-year-old girl was found at a refuse collection point in Mongkok this morning. Police arrested a 34-year-old man in connection with the case. Just after 8 this morning, a cleaner found the body inside a canvas bag at a refuse station on Portland Street. Officers carried out further investigations at a hotel on Canton Road, which they believe is where the suspected murder happened. The police said the teenage victim may have been involved with escort services. Officers said there were obvious injuries to her neck, but the exact cause of death will be determined in an autopsy. Now, the Philippines is cleaning up after being hit by Typhoon Hagupit. The storm has been blamed for at least 27 deaths, and the number could go up. Jameson Wong has more.
Picking up the pieces after another killer storm hit. Hagupit has weakened and started to blow away from the Philippines, and the damage this time around is not as widespread as Super Typhoon Haiyan a year ago. Still, emergency workers have been struggling to reach some of the hardest hit coastal areas. Local Red Cross officials say roads are spotty and access is very difficult. In eastern Samar province, tens of thousands of houses have been crushed or damaged. In all, more than 1 million people were evacuated. President Benigno Aquino has canceled an overseas trip to focus on the cleanup efforts.